All right, let's dive in. We're exploring the Amrita Bindu Upanishad today.
Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, we've got a series of lectures that break down this ancient text. And I think there's some surprisingly relevant wisdom in here for, modern life.
Oh, absolutely.
So imagine this. A path to inner peace
Okay.
that hinges on the idea that our own minds
Yeah,
are both the problem and the solution.
that's the claim, right?
That's what this Upanishad is saying.
That's a big one, right?
It is, and we're going to break it down together.
Yeah.
See how it might apply to your life, see if it resonates.
I love it.
What's fascinating to me is how this text, it's not afraid to get into human nature.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't, it gets straight to the point.
Yeah.
I mean, like right off the bat, first line, mind alone is the cause for people's bondage and their liberation.
Wow.
Like lays it all out right there.
So right away, we're dealing with the mind
Yeah.
as this source of both suffering and freedom.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it suggests that, a lot of our suffering is psychosomatic.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the external situations themselves,
Right.
but our internal reaction to them
Yeah, I mean, we've all had those moments where
all the time.
we overreact to something small.
Of course.
Like, it's not a big deal, but our mind makes it a big deal.
Yeah, I think a good example is, imagine somebody gets passed over for a promotion at work.
Okay, yeah.
One person might just feel disappointed,
Mm-hmm.
and move on. But another person might spiral into anxiety and self-doubt,
Yeah.
create a lot of internal turmoil over it.
Same situation, though.
The same situation, totally different suffering.
Totally. So how does the Upanishad suggest we navigate these internal reactions?
Well, it dives deep into desire, or kama, in Sanskrit.
Okay.
And it presents this unique perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily desire itself that's the problem.
Okay.
It's our clinging to it.
So it's not about becoming desireless?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Even the desire for simple things, like a cup of coffee in the morning,
Right.
can disrupt tranquility
Sure.
if we're clinging to it.
Yeah.
The key is to understand how to transform our relationship with desire.
Okay.
And the Upanishad uses these terms shuddha and ashuddha,
Okay.
pure and impure.
Okay. To kind of explain this.
Yeah.
So help me understand this idea of purity and impurity when it comes to the mind.
Sure. So think of it like this. Pure water
Okay.
is just H2O, right?
Yes.
Anything we add to that, like minerals or contaminants, is an impurity.
Okay.
Similarly, a pure mind is one that's free from clinging to desire.
Okay.
Not that there's no desire there at all,
Right.
but there's no clinging to it.
So impure mind is one that's constantly caught up in wanting things,
Yeah.
even if they're pretty ordinary things.
It's not saying all desires are bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's highlighting the difference between what it calls binding desires
Okay.
and non-binding desires.
All right. So binding desires are
Where our happiness is dependent on getting what we want.
Okay.
So if I don't get this thing, I'm going to suffer.
Okay.
But a non-binding desire is just a preference.
Right.
It'd be nice to have this.
Right. If I don't get it, I'm not going to freak out.
Exactly.
No problem.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. But how do we shift from those binding desires
Yeah.
to non-binding desires?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Because it seems like our whole society is built on
It is.
wanting things.
Yeah. And that's where this idea of self-knowledge or Atma-vidya comes in.
Okay.
The Upanishad suggests that the root of suffering is ignorance
Okay.
of our true nature.
Mhm.
It describes our essence as Sat Chitananda Atma, pure, conscious, blissful being.
So if we truly knew ourselves as already whole and complete,
Yes.
we wouldn't be so dependent on external things
Exactly.
to make us happy.
That's the key.
Okay.
That's the key to transforming our relationship with desire.
So thinking about that promotion example again.
Yeah. If our sense of worth is tied to getting that promotion,
Right.
then we're setting ourselves up,
For suffering.
yeah, for potential suffering.
Yeah.
But if we recognize our inherent value regardless,
Mm-hmm.
we can approach that desire
Yeah.
with more ease.
More detachment.
Yeah.
More freedom.
So it's about cultivating a sense of inner security
Yes.
that isn't contingent on
On getting what you want.
getting what I want. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Upanishad offers some practical tools for cultivating this.
Okay, I'm really interested to hear about these tools.
One of them is called Nirodha,
Nirodha.
which translates to restraint of the mind.
So does that mean we have to suppress all of our thoughts?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about redirecting our attention inward,
Okay.
shifting our focus from the constant pull of the external world
Mm.
to the stillness and awareness within.
So creating space between ourselves and our thoughts.
Exactly.
So we can observe them without getting
Swept away.
swept away. So it's about cultivating a different kind of relationship with our thoughts.
Yes.
Rather than trying to just shut them down completely.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this brings us to one of the key practices that the Upanishad highlights. Meditation.
Meditation.
Yeah.
You know, I used to think meditation was just for stress relief.
Sure, it can help with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Upanishad presents it as a powerful tool for self-discovery,
Okay.
for experiencing that pure conscious essence.
So it's about more than just relaxation.
Much more.
Okay.
The text describes two main types of meditation.
Okay.
The first uses what's called an alambana, which means support.
Oh, okay.
It's something to help focus the mind.
Okay.
One example is meditating on the sound Om.
Om. Isn't that like a Hindu mantra?
Yes. And it holds deep symbolic meaning.
Okay.
It represents the three states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep.
Whoa.
It also symbolizes the Hindu trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva.
Wow. That's a lot packed into one syllable.
It's a lot. But ultimately, the practice of meditating on Om points towards something even deeper.
What's that?
The silence that lies beyond the syllable.
Okay, so tell me about this meditation on silence.
Yeah. This practice is called niralambana meditation,
Okay.
meaning without support.
Okay.
It's a deeper form of meditation
Okay.
that focuses on pure silence,
Mm-hmm.
allowing for a direct experience of consciousness
Okay.
as boundless and unchanging.
What does the text say we might experience in that silence?
It uses the analogy of an oceanic experience,
Okay.
a sense of being without boundaries,
Mhm.
free from limitations.
And this is where we start to touch on one of the most profound realizations presented in the Upanishad.
Yes, the pure consciousness we experience in silence
Okay.
is none other than Brahman,
Whoa.
the ultimate reality underlying the entire cosmos.
So discovering the true nature of ourselves is simultaneously discovering the truth of everything.
That's the radical shift in perspective
That's amazing.
that the Upanishad offers.
So how does the text explain this connection between the individual self and this ultimate reality, Brahman?
It uses a simple but elegant metaphor, the pot and the clay.
Okay.
So imagine a potter shaping clay into various pots.
Mm-hmm.
Each pot appears distinct,
Okay.
but they all arise from and eventually dissolve back into the same clay.
So the pots represent individual selves?
Yes,
And the clay represents Brahman.
exactly.
Good. I like that.
The Upanishad is suggesting that our sense of separateness
Yeah.
is an illusion.
Okay.
Like the pots, we appear distinct,
Right.
but ultimately arise from and dissolve back into the one reality of Brahman.
And the potter represents consciousness,
Beautiful. That's a great insight.
unchanging throughout the whole process.
Yes. The pot representing our physical body and mind is unaware of its creation and eventual destruction.
Right.
But the potter representing consciousness sees it all.
Okay, so we're like the pots mistaking our temporary forms
Yes.
for our true essence,
Exactly.
which is pure, unchanging consciousness.
And this leads us to the concept of the enlightened being, or Buddha.
Okay.
The Upanishad offers a radical perspective here.
Okay.
For someone who realizes their true nature, there is no bondage to be freed from, nor any need for practices like meditation.
Wow.
Enlightenment is not an achievement.
Okay.
It's a recognition of what has always been true.
So it's not about becoming something we're not,
Yeah.
but about unveiling the truth.
Yes.
That's already there.
The path to liberation lies in removing the veils of ignorance
Okay.
that obscure our true nature.
And ignorance being impermanent
Yeah.
can be dissolved through self-knowledge.
It's like removing a blindfold, revealing the world that was always there.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
So it's not about adding something new,
Yeah,
but subtracting those layers of misconception
exactly.
that prevent us from seeing clearly.
And one of the most powerful of these misconceptions is what the text calls Shabdamaya.
Shabdamaya, what's that?
It refers to the illusion created by words and concepts. We get so caught up in thinking, I am name, I am job title, I'm this or that,
Right.
that we lose sight of the unchanging consciousness beneath those labels.
So all of our thoughts and emotions,
I do
even
that.
our sense of self, are like constructs of the mind.
Yes, like clouds obscuring the clear sky of pure awareness.
Okay. I'm starting to see how all of this fits together.
Good.
But before we go any further,
Yeah.
let's pause for a moment and recap
Yeah.
some of these key takeaways from the first part of our deep dive.
Okay.
What are the most important points for our listener to remember?
All right, so we've got the mind's dual nature. Our minds can be the source of our suffering and our liberation.
Right.
It's all about how we relate to our thoughts and perceptions.
Okay.
That makes all the difference.
Right.
We talked about moving from binding to non-binding desires.
Mm-hmm.
The key to freedom lies in transforming our relationship with desire,
Yes.
recognizing the difference between those desires that create a sense of lack and those that allow for greater ease and detachment.
Yeah.
Self-knowledge is key.
Mm.
The root of suffering is ignorance of our true nature.
Okay.
Cultivating that self-knowledge, Atmavidya, allows us to recognize our inherent wholeness and completeness,
Very.
freeing us from dependence on external things for happiness.
Mm.
We talked about meditation as a path,
Yes.
a powerful tool for cultivating self-knowledge.
Yeah.
Whether we use a support like the sound of Om or practice silent meditation,
Right.
the goal is to shift our attention inward towards the stillness and awareness within.
Beautiful.
And finally, we touched on this idea of moving beyond the illusion of separation.
Mm.
The Upanishad is inviting us to recognize that our sense of individuality is an illusion,
Like those pots.
like the pots,
Yeah.
arising from and dissolving back into the same clay.
Which represents Brahman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ultimate reality that underlies all of existence.
That is a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
But it's also incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just getting started.
We are just getting started.
Where do we go from here?
Now that we've laid the groundwork,
Yeah.
I think we can start to explore how these insights apply to our everyday lives.
Okay.
How can we integrate this understanding of oneness and self-knowledge into the messy, complex reality we all face?
Yeah.
That's what we'll dive into in the next part of our exploration.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Me too.
All right, so we're back.
Back for more.
Yeah. Ready to explore how these, pretty profound ideas from the Amrita Bindu Upanishad can actually be applied to our daily lives.
Right.
It's one thing to grasp these concepts intellectually,
Yeah.
but how do we bridge the gap
Right.
between this vision of oneness
Hmm.
and the, often messy reality?
The nitty-gritty.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty that we experience.
Yeah, that's the heart of it, isn't it?
It is. It's about moving from theory to practice.
Yes.
From understanding to embodiment.
Embodiment, that's the key.
Yeah. And I think the Upanishad offers us some guidance on this
Okay,
journey.
sorry.
So what are some of the practical steps
Okay.
we can take to start living from this perspective of self-knowledge and interconnectedness?
Well, I think one of the first steps is recognizing,
Okay.
those subtle ways in which we perpetuate this illusion of separateness in our daily lives.
Okay.
Remember Shabda Maya we talked about?
Yes. The illusion created by words and concepts.
Exactly.
We get so caught up in identifying with these labels.
All the time.
Our names, our job titles, our roles.
Yeah. It's like we're constantly building walls around ourselves with these mental constructs.
Yeah.
We define ourselves as separate from others, separate from the world around us,
Right.
and even separate from different parts of ourselves.
Yeah. So how do we start to break down these walls?
Well, I think it starts with awareness.
Okay.
The Upanishad reminds us that thoughts are impermanent.
Right.
They come and go
Yeah.
like clouds in the sky.
Beautiful.
And if we can start to recognize that our thoughts aren't the ultimate reality,
Right.
we can start to loosen their grip on us.
Easier said than done.
Much easier said than done.
It feels so real.
Yeah. Our thoughts and beliefs can feel
So real, yeah.
very, very real.
Yeah.
But it's a process.
Okay.
It's not a switch you can just flip.
But the more we practice observing our thoughts
Yes.
without judgment,
That's the key.
the more we can,
Create some space.
create some space
Yeah.
between ourselves and the stories our minds are creating.
The stories we tell ourselves all the time.
So it's about cultivating that sense of detachment
Yes.
from our thoughts.
Detachment is a great word.
Seeing them as passing phenomena rather than absolute truth.
Yeah, the text reminds us we're not our thoughts. We are the awareness
Okay.
that's aware of the thoughts.
Right.
So you could think of it like the difference between a screen
Okay.
and a movie playing on it.
Right.
The screen, representing pure awareness, remains unchanged, even as the images on it are flickering and changing.
So instead of getting lost in the drama of the movie,
Yes.
we can cultivate the awareness
Of the screen.
of the screen, that underlying space of consciousness.
Beautiful.
I love that analogy.
I do too.
It really helps.
Yeah.
And this is where the practice of meditation becomes so crucial.
Absolutely.
It's not about stopping our thoughts,
Right.
but about
Creating space
creating space, yeah.
around them.
Learning to observe them without getting entangled in their stories.
In their drama.
Yeah, we practice witnessing our thoughts and emotions
Mm-hmm.
without identifying with them.
Yeah, meditation comes up a lot in these deep dives.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does. And I've definitely experienced the calming effects,
Sure.
but I can see how it can also be such a powerful tool
It is.
for cultivating self-awareness
Yeah.
and detaching from our thoughts.
Yeah. And the beauty of meditation is
Yeah.
it's a practice anyone can do.
Right.
Anywhere, anytime.
You don't need any special equipment.
Nope.
You don't need to go to a special place.
You don't need to be a monk.
Yeah, you don't need to be a monk on a mountaintop.
Exactly.
So we can bring that same sense of spaciousness and awareness
Yes.
into our daily lives.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
It's about remembering that we have a choice
Okay.
in how we respond to the situations we encounter. We
Yeah.
can react habitually,
Right.
getting swept away.
By our thoughts and emotions.
Or we can pause,
Okay.
observe, and choose a more skillful response.
This reminds me of that promotion example.
Yeah.
The person who spirals into anxiety is reacting habitually,
Totally.
whereas the person who quickly shifts their focus is making a conscious choice
Yes. You're choosing,
to respond differently.
yeah, a more skillful response.
And that ability to choose our response
Mm-hmm.
is a direct result of cultivating self-knowledge.
It is.
Yeah.
When we recognize our inherent wholeness and completeness,
Yes.
we're less likely to be thrown off balance
By those external events.
by all the ups and downs of life.
Yeah. But what about when we're faced with really challenging situations?
Okay.
Things that trigger strong emotions,
Yeah.
like fear, anger, grief.
Sure.
It seems much harder to stay grounded
Yeah.
and detached
Yeah, you're right.
in those moments.
It's not easy. And the Upanishad
Yeah.
doesn't suggest that we become,
Right.
emotionless robots.
Yeah.
That life will suddenly become this blissful paradise.
Right.
Challenges and difficult emotions are a part
Yeah, they're part of life.
of the human experience.
But it's how we relate to those experiences
Yes.
that makes all the difference.
That's the key.
So it's not about avoiding or suppressing our emotions,
Right.
but about changing our relationship with them.
Yes. Instead of getting lost in the story,
Mm-hmm.
we can practice witnessing our emotions
Okay.
with compassion and curiosity.
Okay, but how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
It's easy to say,
It is.
observe your emotions.
Observe your emotions.
But what does that look like in practice?
Right.
Especially when those emotions are really intense.
So let's say you're feeling overwhelmed
Okay.
by anxiety about an upcoming presentation at work.
Yeah, I've been there.
Instead of resisting or trying to push away that anxiety, you might take a few deep breaths.
Okay.
Bring your awareness to the physical sensations in your body
Right.
and simply acknowledge, I'm feeling anxious.
So just creating space
Creating space.
for the emotion to be there
Yes.
without getting swept away by it.
Exactly. And in that space of awareness,
Yeah.
you can start to investigate the anxiety
I-
with curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So what thoughts are fueling this anxiety?
Right.
What are the underlying beliefs or fears that are contributing to this feeling?
So we become a detective almost.
Yes.
Investigating the emotion
Yes.
rather than just identifying with it.
Instead of saying, I am anxious,
Right.
you say, I'm feeling anxiety.
Right.
It's a subtle shift,
It is.
but it can make a big difference.
And that simple act of witnessing our emotions
Yeah.
with awareness and compassion can be incredibly transformative.
I think so. It allows us to move through them
Yeah.
with greater ease and skillfulness
Rather than getting stuck.
rather than getting stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
good.
It's not about pretending we don't feel challenging emotions,
No.
but about changing how we relate to them.
Exactly. And this shift in perspective
Mm-hmm.
can have a ripple effect
Okay.
on our relationships, our work,
Yeah.
even our overall sense of well-being.
Okay. I'm starting to see how these principles can be applied to everyday life,
Yeah.
but there's one piece of the puzzle I'm still grappling with.
Right.
You know, we talk about this illusion of separateness,
Yeah.
but how do we reconcile that
Mm-hmm.
with the very real suffering we see in the world?
Right.
How do we hold on to a sense of oneness
Yeah.
when we're confronted with injustice, violence, pain, all of that?
Yeah, that's a profound question. and one that gets to the heart of what it means to live from this perspective.
Of interconnectedness.
Yes.
So how do we reconcile this vision of oneness with the reality of suffering? So how do we reconcile this vision of oneness with the reality of suffering?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Right. And, the Amrita Bindu Upanishad
Yeah.
doesn't offer any simple solutions.
Okay.
Or naive pronouncements about ignoring the world's problems.
So it's not about detaching from the world?
No.
Or pretending that everything is okay?
Not at all. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite.
Okay.
True compassion, according to the Upanishad,
Yeah.
arises from deeply recognizing our shared humanity and the interconnectedness of all beings.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If we truly see ourselves as part of one unified consciousness, then the suffering of others becomes our own suffering.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every being.
Right.
Regardless of their circumstances.
Regardless of their circumstances, yeah.
And this understanding naturally leads to a desire to alleviate suffering, to create a more just and compassionate world.
So it's not about ignoring the darkness,
right,
but about facing it with an open heart.
Yes.
And a willingness to act. To engage.
But how do we do that? Without getting completely overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of suffering
It's a lot.
that exists in the world.
Yeah. How do we find that balance between inner peace and engaged action?
That's the question.
That's the delicate dance we're all navigating, right?
Yeah.
And the Upanishad reminds us that it's a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
There's no point at which we suddenly become immune to the world's sorrows or achieve some perfect state of unwavering equanimity.
Right. It's an ongoing practice.
Yes.
A continual effort to align our actions with our understanding of interconnectedness.
Exactly. And it's not about becoming saviors or fixing everything that's wrong in the world.
Yeah.
It's about showing up.
It is.
With awareness.
With compassion.
Willingness to contribute in whatever ways we can.
Yeah, in whatever ways we can.
I like that. It sounds both empowering and humbling.
It is both.
At the same time, empowered because we can make a difference.
We can.
But humbled because we recognize the limitations of our individual efforts.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
And that understanding can free us from the pressure
of
having to solve everything.
It's not all on us.
It's not all on me.
Right.
Yeah, allowing us to act from a place of genuine care and service.
Yes.
Rather than a sense of obligation.
Or guilt.
Yeah. I'm also curious about this idea, as we purify our own minds, we contribute to the purification of the collective consciousness.
This is a big one.
Yeah. How does that work?
Well, the Upanishad suggests that we're not isolated islands.
Okay.
Right? But interconnected nodes in this vast web of consciousness. Our thoughts, our words, our actions, they create ripples that extend far beyond ourselves. Influencing the collective energy field.
So even our individual efforts at self-realization can have a positive impact on the world.
I do. It's like a drop of water.
Okay.
Merging with the ocean.
Right.
A single drop might seem insignificant on its own.
Yeah.
But it contributes to the vastness of the whole.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
Makes me think about the importance of personal transformation.
Yes.
As a catalyst for collective change.
Absolutely. As we cultivate inner peace, compassion, clarity, we naturally radiate those qualities outwards.
Right.
Influencing our relationships, our communities, the world at large.
Well, this conversation has given me a lot to think about.
Good.
I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
We have. There's so much more here.
Of this profound text.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving with a renewed sense of hope.
Good.
And a deeper understanding of the power of self-knowledge and interconnectedness.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a joy exploring these ideas with you.
Yeah.
And remember, the true power of the Amrita Bindu Upanishad, or any spiritual teaching for that matter, lies in its application.
Okay.
It's not enough to just understand these concepts intellectually.
Right.
We must embody them, live them, breathe them into every aspect of our lives.
And perhaps that's the most exciting part.
It is.
The ongoing journey of discovery and transformation.
Absolutely.
That awaits us as we integrate these ancient insights into our modern lives.
Beautiful.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
Until next time, may you find peace, clarity, and a deep sense of connection to the truth of who you are.